Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Giuliano here at the Smoke Filled Room. This is a new podcast that I'm starting with me and a friend of mine from high school, Steve Winan. Well, you guys don't know very much about me because this is our first episode. I'm a political science major at the University of Scranton. Um, I tend to lean left on social issues and more right on economic issues. And my real interests, I guess, are more foreign policy than domestic stuff. So, Steve, you want to go talking about?
Oh yeah, I'm Steve Winan, as Billy said, and I'm a history, poli-sci, Middle Eastern Studies major at Rutgers, and I'm a little more conservative socially than Billy, um, but generally we see eye to eye on most things, and we do differ on the use of military force and diplomacy and whatnot, but that's where it'll get interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. So, for those who are just joining us now, because this is brand new, this is our first episode ever. It was a pain in the ass to set it
Ever.
up, but
Yes, it
we
was.
now have, for
Well,
the
we
most
did it.
part, it established. There's some little things that we can do, but we're gonna tweak those in the future. For now, this is just basically our test run, making sure everything works. Also, we're gonna delve right into it. This will be up on
Word.
YouTube. Hopefully, we're recording this Friday, February 5th, 2016.
Yep.
I'm not
Yep.
sure if it'll be up on that day. Most likely it will be. If not, it'll be up by tomorrow morning
Word.
because I want to go back and see what editing I can do with it. Maybe making us a bit less pixelated. I know we probably are. Maybe fixing my sound a bit. I'm not sure how to do that except by getting a new microphone, so that probably won't happen this episode. But that's just
Word.
future stuff. So we're obviously, you can tell by our majors in school, we are both very into politics. And with all of the stuff, let's say, going on, because we're going to try to keep this a clean podcast, all the stuff going on
Right.
in the political world right now between, the Middle East and Russia and this ridiculous presidential race and just all of it, we're going to try to delve into it and see what exactly we can, kind of fix amongst ourselves, see, just kind of hash it out and see what happens, right?
Yep.
That sound good?
That's the plan.
So we decided that for our first podcast, we were going to talk, much to Bernie Sanders' chagrin, about Hillary's emails.
Oh.
Ayo.
Oh. Um.
So me and you have
So
different opinions on this. So why don't you
right.
go first and lay out your argument?
Um. Okay. So we found out today, or so we should probably go all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So, um, for months now, there has been rumors that um, Hillary Clinton had a private email server set up near her home in New York that handled her email traffic, and it wasn't on a government server, so it didn't have government level security, and so clearly that's a problem. And
Mm-hmm.
then today we found out that other Secretary of States have done it also. Uh, Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice, and I found some more right. So I found some more information about that. Um, so, according to the State Department's internal review of the last five Secretary of State's email practices, uh, Powell received two emails that were classified, and the immediate staff of Condoleezza Rice received 10 emails that were classified on private servers.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the State Department's report, actually, no, according to Colin Powell, who was interviewed about this today, he said that at the time, those two emails had information that was not classified as classified at the time.
Okay.
And he says if the State Department wants to reclassify them as classified, that's opinion that he doesn't have. And the staff of Condoleezza Rice confirmed that she never had an email account as Secretary of State, and all of her emails were done by her
Yeah.
staff. So she
Okay.
personally didn't set up a private
Gotcha.
email server. Correct.
Okay.
So, but with that said, I hate Hillary Clinton, but I'm going to try to keep this as fair as possible. Um, the government does overclassify information, and like they classify certain news media and what they have to say on certain things. So like that's kind of ridiculous.
Mhm.
Um,
Agreed.
but that's not, if we were talking about a small number of emails, like 20 or 25, that would make sense to me to have like 20 or 25 that have been overclassified and were sent by mistake. But like possibly we're talking, like according to the FBI, we're talking about thousands of emails that
Mhm.
potentially have classified information.
Yeah. No, agreed. But
So yeah, go
okay.
for it. Jump in.
So my thoughts are, I think that the whole with Condoleezza Rice and Colin Powell, it's a lot. I mean, it's a different situation because I think more than anything else, I think the time period in which this was occurring. What years were each of them Secretary of State?
Colin
Do you
Powell
know off the top of your head?
was, yeah, it was 2001 to 2004
And
ish,
then
and
Condoleezza was the
then
Secretary of
Condoleezza
State.
Rice was right after that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I guess Condoleezza is a bit more serious, but in the early 2000s when Colin Powell was Secretary of State, not not very much is happening by email. Like it's kind of at
right.
it's at the very beginning of when like people actually start using email for regular communication as opposed to like it was only one term before that under Bill Clinton that the first email a president ever sent was sent. So I
Right.
think that Colin Powell is a lot less guilty than say Condoleezza or Hillary. Um, that said, though, if the State Department is reclassifying certain documents, then that can't be. It depends on what it was classified as at the time it was sent. Like you can't blame Hillary or Condoleezza or Colin for sending an email that was not classified at the time. If you
Right.
if you go back and reclassify it, then like that's a totally different. That's not their fault. It's like when you do something and then after you do that thing, they make it a rule, like you can't do it anymore.
Hmm.
Have you watch How I Met Your Mother? I'm sure a lot of viewers will also have watched How
Yeah.
I Met Your Mother. The episode where Barney rides a motorcycle through the casino
Right.
in Atlantic City, I think they're in. Like after that, it becomes a rule that you can't ride a motorcycle. Was it Barney or Marshall? I forget. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
After that, it becomes a rule that you can't ride a motorcycle through the casino. They're not going to like you can't get that person in trouble for doing something when it's not yet a rule. So
Right.
for those sorts of emails, I'm totally in favor of giving Hillary and everyone else a pass. When it
Right.
comes to actually sending classified information over the emails, yes, you should not do that. Obviously, that seems like a massive breach of national security. However, it seems like we have taken it way, 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 way too far. And I know that Republicans in particular like to shout out Benghazi whenever we discuss something like this and whenever it comes up. But to just blame it on Benghazi, like I'm sorry, how many off the top of your head, do you know how many congressional hearings there have been about Hillary's emails or about Benghazi in general? Last
A
I
lot.
thought it was like 7 or so. It's
It's gotta
it's
be.
something like
It's gotta be close.
it's between seven
Yeah.
and nine, I think,
Right.
which is ridiculous. Like you would think by the seventh congressional hearing we would have discovered something, yet we
Right.
haven't.
Well,
Especially when
also
you
the
consider that we only had 3 congressional hearings when 9/11 happened. So just like
right.
let's take like what the
But
bigger fish there.
after 9/11, there was bipartisan consensus that they needed to figure out what happened.
Hmm.
But I just read a report from the Congressional Budget Office that the Democrats who are on the House Benghazi committee have wasted about $2 million stalling, uh, stalling witness statements, stalling actually showing up.
Hmm.
Um, and all of this has amounted to about $2 million. So like you have 7 to 9 hearings on this because the other half doesn't want to show up. I mean, and so that's crap. Like you can't do that.
Yeah, no,
And
absolutely. But
so like
even
it's not. I understand that the Republicans are on a witch hunt because they want Hillary to
mhm.
burn, and so do
And
I.
especially
But
but
but you can't just drag this out and waste tons of money on this. Both sides for their
yeah,
own reasons.
I would say that both sides are probably doing that. The Democrats because they think it's bullcrap that this is happening, and the Republicans because they just want to get Hillary. And I
Right.
think like you're by not by not doing the hearing to its fullest extent, no one's doing anyone any justice.
Right,
The
and that's why we're
Democrats
wasting so much time.
exactly the Democrats are wasting time and money by just not letting the hearings happen, whereas at the same time the Republicans are wasting time and money by having 7 of them.
Right.
Especially when, like, I forget who it was at the time. Was it Mitch McConnell who said that?
Maybe.
It was one of them who said last summer that, look at Hillary's poll numbers before and after we started these hearings. Like, that's not what this is about. Like, is it actually about? And let's make it about Benghazi. Like, is it actually about finding justice for the people who died there and for their families, or is it about hurting Hillary Clinton's poll numbers? Because you're
Right.
not doing any justice to the military or to the brave men who died at Benghazi by going after Hillary Clinton because she's a Democrat and you're a Republican.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we could make this a larger discussion of Benghazi, but that's just where I stand on it. I think that if you wanna make it about, like, actually finding justice for these people, let's do that. I'm fine with that. But when you come out and say, "Oh, look at Hillary's poll numbers now," you lost me there.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to read you a little bit from a letter that Trey Gowdy, who is the chairman of the House Select Committee on Benghazi, wrote to his Democratic counterpart, Elijah Cummings.
Okay.
And in this letter, he explains through the testimonies that they received and the emails that they were actually able to get from the State Department that Sidney Blumenthal, who, do you know who that is?
I do not. Could you? And
Okay,
even if I do, others listening may not necessarily.
Right, got you. Sidney Blumenthal is basically like the Clintons' longtime like political advisor on everything forever.
Okay.
It's the inner circle is them and him, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he sent on March 18th, 2011. At the time, he sent then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton an email to her private account that contained the name of a human source of intelligence, which is one of the most secure and classified sources of intelligence, because that is the name of your source, and if you let that get out and then you lose that source, you lose that intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that's obviously a major national security breach,
right?
Of course.
So this happened. They were able to determine that this happened,
mm-hmm.
and she forwarded that email to a colleague in the State Department.
Okay.
So that happened. Legit, that happened. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And before this was public knowledge that she did that, she claimed that she never sent any classified information from her private email address. So it's not so much that she should be punished because what she did may have been minor, or because she's a Democrat and the Republicans are on a witch hunt, but she lied. And now it's come out that she did lie, and now she lies again saying, "Oh, it was my underling's fault," but it came from her computer. That's where the email came from. And she forwarded on knowing that it had the name of a source of human intelligence. So it's like she messed up. Like, she did.
Yeah, no, she totally did.
And if she was a mid-level CIA officer or NSA officer or whoever, they would probably be in prison or at least fired, right?
I don't know about prison. Like, I'm not sure how criminal that is per se, Like, obviously that's a national security breach, and it's probably against the code of conduct for the State Department and for the U.S. government in general. I'm not sure necessarily how illegal it is.
But she should be fired. She should have been fired.
No, totally. Like, you can't. Yeah, no, you can't do that. But at the same time, it's like, it's almost like a statute of limitations. You know? We didn't find out about this until months later. So, is there a statute of limitations on Hillary's emails?
No,
Does
I don't
email
think
get a different statute of limitations?
I mean,
I don't know how this works. I don't think anyone really does.
If you're forwarding unsecured classified information over an unsecured server, like, is that treason? I don't know. because treason has no statute of limitations. So if that's treason, then she committed treason, but I don't know if that's defined as treason, and no one says that it's defined as treason.
I would wager that it's not defined as treason.
Right. And nobody would want to try her anyway for treason because that would never end.
Yeah, that's if you want to talk about a witch hunt and a never-ending one at that. You're right. So I've gone onto the Hillary Clinton website to see what they have to say about this. And just so everyone knows, I literally did this by Googling Hillary's emails. So the title of this particular article is Updated, the Facts About Hillary Clinton's Emails. And the first one is, why did Hillary Clinton use her own email account? I don't really care. She did. That's all that really matters. The next question is, was it allowed? And I'm just going to read the first paragraph according to the Hillary Clinton website. Yes. The laws, regulations, and State Department policy in place during her tenure permitted her to use a non-government email for work. The 2009 National Archives regulation in place during her tenure required that agencies that allow employees to send and receive official electronic mail messages using a system not operated by the agency must ensure that federal records sent or received on such systems are preserved in the appropriate agency record-keeping system. The regulation recognizes the use of non-government email accounts. As she has stated, Clinton's practice was to email government officials on their .gov accounts, so her work emails were immediately captured and preserved. In fact, more than 90% of those emails should have already been captured in the State Department's email system before she provided them with paper copies. That doesn't seem particularly relevant. The last paragraph for this one is, a PolitiFact analysis also confirmed that Clinton's practices complied with laws and regulations, including support from the former director of a prominent government accountability organization. Quote-unquote, in Clinton's defense, we should note that it was only after Clinton left the State Department that the National Archives issued a recommendation that government employees should avoid conducting official business on personal emails, though they noted there might be extenuating circumstances such as an emergency that required it. Additionally, in 2014... Sorry, there's just a few more sentences. Additionally, in 2014, President Barack Obama signed changes to the Federal Records Act that explicitly said federal officials can only use personal email addresses if they also copy or send the emails to their official account. Because these rules weren't in effect when Clinton was in office, she was in compliance with the laws and regulations at the time, said Gary Bass, founder and former director of OMB Watch, a government accountability organization. So basically, and I want to make it clear, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I just lean certain ways. I like to stay very much in the middle, and I really like to play devil's advocate. So like when I'm having political discussions with people, I'm usually the most conservative guy in a group of liberals and the most liberal guy in a group of conservatives. Like that's just usually where I stand. So right now I'm not in favor of Hillary Clinton. I do not like her. I do not think she should be the next president of the United States. But I'm partly playing devil's advocate, and I partly see the point and think that this is way too drawn out and way too much of a thing. So that's why I'm reading things from her website, which I do not encourage people to go to. Because that supports her, and we don't want to do that. Yeah. So
okay.
Your thoughts
So that
on
makes sense.
Did you find the website? Are you on it right now, or?
Yeah. So
Okay.
so that their explanation makes sense.
It does.
And if she was following the
you can't blame her for following the rules of the future, you know?
Right. So if she was following the guidelines at the time, fine. But it said that you can use the private emails for work. Yeah. But does for work mean classified information, or does that mean your regular 9-to-5 business meetings, business letters, etc., etc.? Like,
that's a very good point.
So if we can both agree that it's not illegal what she did, we can still agree that it showed an incredible lack of judgment.
Yes, I will agree with that for sure.
The source of human intelligence that she gave up was in Libya, and this was about a year and a half before what went down in the consulate happened.
Okay.
Actually, no. Yeah, it was about a year and a half before. So, like, if Libya is your pet project, right? Because
we'll have a future episode on Libya in general, and maybe and definitely jihadism in general, maybe Libya, right. But not for now. We'll just deal with Hillary.
Right. So if the plan to restructure Libya after getting rid of Gaddafi was her plan, right?
Mhm.
Why would she give up a source of human intelligence just on a private email server? And she had to have known
Yeah,
what
I'm
email, what server she's sending her emails on. It's not like you don't know that as the Secretary of State.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, she absolutely had to have known that. I think. Well, first, have they been able to connect that email with what happened in Benghazi specifically? Because
No, I don't believe so.
at first they said because it happened on 9/11, right? It was
Yeah.
September 11th, 2012 that happened.
Yes.
So and jihadists are smart, and I think that was obviously not just a coincidence. I think anyone can agree on that.
Right.
But can they connect what happened, the email, to Benghazi? Because and when it first happened, all the reports were saying it was about a movie made either in I think it was
Okay.
either an
Yeah.
American movie or a French movie, like disgracing the
Uh,
Prophet Muhammad.
it was a movie made by a I think it was an American pastor that criticized Muhammad.
Yeah, and
But
so they said
the
that
the
this was in
sub
retaliation of that. Those were the first reports, which are almost never
right
correct,
and
obviously.
the committee has proven that that was a lie, and that Hillary
Hmm.
Clinton, as soon as the attack started, she knew that it was a coordinated terrorist attack by Al Qaeda. She knew, and the emails at the time, and the phone calls at the time, and the witness statements that testify to this do prove that she knew that as soon as it started, she knew it was happening.
Okay.
Okay, so she sent an email to Barack, and she was like, "Yo, shit's going down. We got to start taking care of
Stuff's
this."
going down. We're a
And
clean
then,
podcast.
sorry, and then she sent an email to Bill and her child, Chelsea, and she
Hmm.
was like, um, "Yo, like this is a video. This is a result of a video, that pissed Muslims off." And it's like you can't email one thing and then email another thing and then tell the country that it was just based off of a video when you knew at the time that it wasn't.
Well, are those necessarily two different things? Like, could it be that you can like she could have been well aware that this was a pre-planned,
She
coordinated
was.
attack?
She was well
Yeah,
aware. She
but does
was.
that just because that attack is pre-planned and pre-coordinated, does that necessarily mean it doesn't have anything to do with the video? The video
Yeah,
didn't come
because
out the same day as
they
the
didn't.
attack.
There's no proof that they even know that Al Qaeda even
Yeah,
was aware of this video.
no, I agree. Like, there's no proof whatsoever. So they're going off.
Right.
So let's say Hillary hears this, and also doesn't know all the facts yet because it is as it's happening or immediately after. So let's say she's just going off the first report. She doesn't know for a fact, but she's just going off of what the first reports are saying. And if later on we determine that that's not what happened, well, then that's fine. She has the ability to go back and backtrack and say, this is what we had heard at first. It turns out that was not true. This is what it actually happened, you know?
But she never did that.
But it was more established in the media.
Listen, they knew. The administration knew that it was a coordinated terrorist attack and had nothing to do with the video. And for days after, they kept saying, "Oh, it's because of the video." And I remember the Sunday after the attack, all the ambassador to the UN, and all these people were going on Sunday talk shows. They were like, "Oh yeah, it's because of this video." But they knew it wasn't because of the video at that point, and they kept lying because it was an election year, and if they realized that they screwed up that bad, then they would get killed in the polls, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, okay. So how many people do you think actually knew that it was not because of the video? Do you think it was just Hillary, or do you think that
It was Hillary, Barack, and all the intelligence people.
Okay.
They all knew.
So, but like, if it keeps being spread in the media that it was because of the video,
Because they spread it. Who tells the media these things?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Right?
The government, yes. So, okay, so let's say that. So what I'm still wondering is, why is the video necessarily distinct from the attack? You know, like, it could have, even if they, like, whether the video is the cause of it or not, the video could have theoretically been the cause, you know? Like, it can still be a pre-planned attack and the video pissed them off as well, you know? Like, that could still...
Yeah, but there's no proof that they watched it or even know it exists.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
okay, I see that point.
That's you can't just say, "Oh yeah, they watched this on YouTube and then they decided to go bomb the consulate and kill people." Like,
So why did
like
they
who
do
does
that? So
that?
why did they attack the consulate?
Because the amount of weapons and people that they had in place, that takes months to get that together, right?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
absolutely.
they knew where
That's
everything
a
was,
very planned attack.
right?
Our ambassador died.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's not like that they just watched this on YouTube and then decided, you know what, guys, next weekend we're gonna go blow up the consulate and kill the U.S. ambassador. Like,
yeah, no,
who does that?
obviously. I mean, an attack like that, like general attacks on consulates, don't have to be particularly long in the planning phase, nor do they have to be particularly like complex or sophisticated. This one happens to be both. You know,
Right. No,
so
I see what you're saying,
yeah, you
but
see my
I
point,
mean, like,
right?
I generally just distrust the government all the time.
As you should.
So, um,
It's the libertarian in you.
right, it's libertarian in me, I know. Um, I just can't believe that they just decided that they knew. I mean, they knew. I mean, at least the committee has established the fact that they knew that it was not in relation to this video and that it was a coordinated attack. And as the intelligence reports have shown in the months afterwards, that it were months of plannings, and then they were poured over communique after communique after communique, and all the chatter and all the previous months leading up to the attack, and they were able to determine that this took a big chunk of time to plan. I
Okay.
mean, these people, they showed up with RPGs, AKs, they knew which gates to hit, they knew where the ambassador
Oh, you
was,
know.
and the reason why they were so successful is because they knew all of this stuff.
Exactly.
And yet,
You're right. It's
it's not
massive
like you
amounts of
can just,
pre-planning. That's really what it is.
so it's not just because of a friggin'
Wait,
YouTube video
Steve,
that
can
all
you
these
repeat
people just
everything you
decided
just
they're going to do
said?
what
You
they're
kind
going
of
to do.
glitched out a little bit there.
Oh, sorry.
That's
So I
okay.
said, if it's clear that it took months of planning for this, and
Mm-hmm.
also that the consulate itself sent out multiple security addition requests, okay, because they felt like the situation was getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, clearly this was a ticking time bomb, and it wasn't just some Balkan powder keg because of a video on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay, you
Yeah.
feel me?
So could you explain to the people, to the great people of YouTube, how it is that the government, because I'm wondering this too myself, how it is that the government was saying, oh yeah, it's because of the video, it's the video, it's the video, and then changed course and was like, wait, it may not be the video, you
Okay,
know?
so around
And how long after they knew did they start saying that?
Okay, so they knew pretty much right from the get-go. So the attack was happening local time here about
Mm-hmm.
like 3 a.m.
Okay.
Okay, so
So early in the
nobody's
morning in
reporting exactly.
Benghazi.
Nobody's reporting anything. And according to the committee and the testimony that they got, um, the State Department, the DoD, and the president knew that this was a serious attack right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
and um, at some point through the process of dealing with it, they decided that it was because of this video that depicted the Prophet Muhammad doing non-Prophet Muhammad things.
It's a good way of
And
describing
then
it.
and then for about 4 or 5 days after that, they kept going with that line. And then as soon as the news started to come out that it wasn't because of this video and that this was actually pre-planned for a long time, that they started to backtrack. And they never said, oh, we were wrong and we're sorry. Like Hillary Clinton never came out and said, I'm sorry
Mm-hmm.
I misled you. And she never told the parents of the people who died and the families of the people who died, I'm sorry I misled you.
Mm-hmm.
And there was never President Obama coming back to the Rose Garden and be like, I'm sorry we messed up. There was never an I'm sorry.
That's true. There was never an apology
Okay?
for getting
Like,
it
if
wrong.
you screwed it up, you have to apologize. And
Yeah.
then that would at least show the public that you recognize that you screwed up. But they don't, because they were just doing what they needed to do to get reelected. And I'd be saying this if it was a Republican administration,
No, I
because
know
this is
you
just
would.
vile behavior.
I know you
This
would
is just
because
disgusting.
because you have said in private conversations with me about, similar lies that were told about Iraq and Afghanistan, and believe me, we'll do episodes on that as well, because we have a lot to say on those two issues. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about Libya and the particular faults of the Obama administration with Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. And you're right. I don't think even the most staunch Democrats will argue that what she did was correct or what she did was necessarily right or wrong. I think that when you put it in the context of Benghazi, it's a lot more serious than when you put it in the context of, oh, she sent a few emails, Because if I can go back to your point before about how you said that, like, what constitutes using your private account for work, like, I think that we'd all agree, like, yeah, if she needs to set up a meeting for later that afternoon, it's 10 in the morning, it's fine for her to use her personal email to set up that meeting,
Right.
If she's sending, like, nuclear codes, she probably shouldn't be using her personal email for that,
Right.
And obviously those are two very big discrepancies, and there's a lot of gray area in between afternoon meeting and nuclear codes, but
Right.
I think there is a line somewhere, obviously, there has to be, but it depends on exactly what she was saying. I would say that I would agree with you that using the particular name of an intelligence official is probably not what you want to be sending over your personal
No,
email.
it wasn't an intelligence official. It was a Libyan person who was giving the CIA information.
Oh, it was an informant. Excuse me.
Yes.
Okay.
Human intelligence. Yeah, that's what they mean by that.
Okay.
My bad.
No, I had forgotten the term you used, but okay, so it was basically an informant. And
Yes.
so, yes, whoever it is, unless you're naming, like, particular terrorists, unless you're naming bad guys, like, you can name bad guys as much as you want. Everyone can know the bad guys. That's fine. We don't want you guys. We don't want the good guys out there. We don't want you to know the name of the good guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
We're on the same page. So, I think if we can just conclude our little Hillary Clinton Benghazi email situation. To sum up my point, I would just say that after listening to your arguments and having my own and reading things and stuff like that, I would say that in general, what Hillary Clinton did is not as bad as people are making it out to be. Yes, she was wrong. It's still a gray area on how illegal it was, but morally and probably practically it was wrong, and she shouldn't have done what she did. And in regards specifically to Benghazi, we can't necessarily say that her emails are linked to what happened in Benghazi, but the theoretically
No, yeah.
I think that's
absolutely.
the one thing. If we can talk about that for a little, that's one thing we didn't really touch on. I don't think there's any proof out there, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there's any connection between her emails and Benghazi.
No, yeah.
It almost seems like they're two separate issues that have been like merged into one in the media.
Yeah, which is
not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you want to and that comes down to, like, supporting the facts. You don't want to confuse what happened in Benghazi with Hillary sending some emails. Like, those are not the same thing, especially when there is no correlation so far that we have found after 7 committees.
Yeah.
I don't actually know what the number is. I'm going to Google that real quick because I've been saying 7 this whole time. I feel like 7's correct, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
But so that's my part. And I also don't think that it's necessarily worth it anymore to be investigating Hillary 7 times about what happened in Benghazi, or about her emails. We have clearly found nothing after 7 times. We found nothing that can criminally indict her.
Well, the FBI is recommending an indictment.
Oh, they are recommending an indictment.
Yeah, like one of the higher ups in the FBI said that, like, essentially, like, we need to indict her. And the indictment doesn't mean that you did something wrong. The indictment
just means that there's enough evidence that we can investigate it.
Exactly, that there's conduct that's worth investigating.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then the FBI is going to take over if they do that, and then Congress doesn't have to blow any more money on this.
Which would be really, really nice. Well, I mean, in the end of the day, it's still taxpayer money because we fund the FBI, but...
Exactly.
Either way, the Congress has better things to do with their money than worry about Hillary.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. I found a website called Benghazi by the Numbers.
Hey, look at that.
That sounds interesting. So,
Benghazi by the numbers.
yeah. So, and especially, I'm going to go with it was Mitch McConnell who made that comment, though I'm not quite sure how true that is. I feel like it wasn't, actually. I feel like it was a different Republican senator who said that, well, look at her poll numbers now after we've started these hearings. Like, again, you lose me there, you know? If you want to make this all about the soldiers, if you want to make this about the lives lost in Benghazi, like that's totally fine. But then don't go make a stupid ass comment like that. Excuse me, stupid butt comment like that. You know, that's not like you're not getting your point across. You're just trying to get votes. You're just trying to hurt her image, and that's not what this is about. That's not how politics in America should be. Increasingly, it's how politics in America is, and that makes me a little bit sad. It makes me more than a little bit sad. It makes me a lot sad.
Makes me
But
pretty sad, yeah.
yeah, but there's a lot of things about our government that makes me kind of sad.
Yep.
Yep. So here, this is actually really cool. They give you a nice infographic. Everyone, go to this website. It's called BenghaziCommittee.com. And the infographic at the very top, it's Benghazi by the numbers. Since the beginning of the investigation, it has been 1,128 days. There have been, I was correct, 7 prior congressional investigations. $20 million. That's a big difference. Minimum total cost. Oh, 32 congressional hearings. Oops. Well, probably the 7 investigations, 32 hearings. So that's where I was confused. 2,780 questions asked. 11 published reports on the Benghazi attacks. 70,000 pages of documents provided by the State Department. Only 3 public hearings held for the Benghazi Select Committee. 11 months Secretary Clinton will have waited to testify in open public hearing. And then at the bottom, there's 3 number zeros. 0 investigations that have found any administration wrongdoing. 0 investigations to find evidence of any intelligence failure. 0 investigations to find evidence of a stand-down order.
Right.
So there you have it.
Yep.
That's Benghazi by the numbers.
I mean, it also doesn't take into account, like, how much the State Department has stalled giving them the information that they requested, and a lot of witnesses have refused to testify, and they just plead the fifth. So, like, it's taking way too long because the Republicans are looking for a lot of things that aren't there,
Yes.
but it's also taking too long because the
Democrats are
government
stalling.
is exactly. So everyone sucks, and everyone needs to get over themselves and
get off their high horse.
Exactly.
Everyone needs to get off their high horse.
Yes.
Yes. So that's my summary. What do you got? That was a really long summary of us really just going back and forth. There wasn't exactly a summary.
I think we've pretty much touched it. I think we've got it. And without going into like all the details of everything, I think we did a pretty good job.
Excellent. I agree. I think we did really well. Okay.
So yeah.
There we go.
Awesome.
So
word.
I'm going to go then, Steve, and I'm going to put this up on the internet.
Word.
Probably. I'm actually think I might just do it right now. I'm going to listen through all of it, make sure that there's no real glitches or anything. Seeing if I can figure out how to edit things. I'm not sure if I can, because I don't even think I don't know if there's much stuff to edit out here, but I don't think that it's really necessary. I think that for the most part we were pretty good. So
we are good.
With that, everyone, join us next time. I don't know when that will be.
It will be soon.
So, obviously, public service announcements. Like our channel on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Like our videos on Facebook if you are Facebook friends with us. Because we will both be sharing it. Obviously, our channel is The Smoke-Filled Room. So share this video. Go subscribe to us. Go to Steve's website. It's called... Steve, why don't you tell them about your website?
Oh, it's called... So I have a blog site, and we're going to be running the podcast on there also. It's called stevewinan-thethinredline.com, and it's just a blog about everything, national security, politics, culture, everything. So it's a good site. Check it out. It's awesome. And yeah, so we'll be posting the blog stuff there also.
Yes. For the most part, that's where we'll be putting the podcast as well as on YouTube. The blog is mostly Steve writing articles. I'll write some occasionally. But it'll be, for the most part, Steve writing articles, and then me, I do like the video editing and stuff for the YouTube
Word.
channel.
Yes,
So
sir.
I think that's a wrap then. And so we go. Take care, everyone.